Welcome to the demo session of my talk about the upcoming Saptune 3. And here I want to show some of the new features. I've prepared a little agenda on the right-hand side, which I walk through. So first I will enable or set up Saptune and also show a typical error you might run into and how to fix it. Then I will show the new tagging feature and how it can be used in override files. And last, I also show you something about staging. So for this, I have a virtual machine here with this for SAP 15 SP2, and I have the latest beta of Saptune 3 installed. Yep, there it is. So first, setting up Saptune. So in the past with Saptune T2, I would now to deal with TuneD, but Saptune 3 comes now with a systemd service, and there is no TuneD involved anymore. So to enable and start the service, I would use system control. Let's enable it for boot. And I also want to start it immediately. And there it is. And fire, and I'm running into a problem here. So it failed for some reason. Let's check out why. Let's use system control status, and here I see the I think most common problem. Customer will see there is inactive subconf. So this is a safeguard subconf and Saptune have. So both tools will check if the other one is already tuning the system, and if it's the case, then it will not start. So that there's no mix-up between both tools. So they should never run at the same time. So I should disable and stop subconf first. So, but before I do this, let me also show you the new check tool, which is also in the Saptune 3 package. It's called Saptune check. And there we see there are the problems we already know about. The subconf service is active, service is enabled, and therefore our start has failed. But it's not only a list of the problems you have, it also makes suggestions how to solve the issue. So to get it running, we should stop the subconf service, disable it, and then try to start Saptune service again. So I could follow this recommendations from top to down, and I should end up with a running Saptune. But I want to show you another way, which I have mentioned in my talk, because instead of doing all the little steps one by one, there is a command already present in Saptune 2. It's called Saptune daemon start. And what it does is it's doing all those things at once for you. So you don't have to do all the steps by yourself. So, and with Saptune 3, you will see these deprecation warning, because we want to get rid of this daemon subcommand of Saptune, because daemon does not make any sense. Saptune is no daemon, and it also with version 3 there is no TuneD involved anymore. So this daemon command is misleading, but it will still work in version 3. So if you have deployment scripts already in place to roll out and configure Saptune 2, they should work with Saptune 3 as well, as long as you use this command. What is really doing in 3, we can see here that the request will redirect it to another command, which is called takeover, service takeover. And this command is precisely doing that what it says. It's taking over the system, so it will make sure that Saptune is the only remaining tuning tool currently running. And we see here in all these lines all the steps the command is doing. It is disabling and stopping subconf, disabling and stopping tuned and enabling and starting Saptune service. So when I run the check script again, then I should see that wonderful, everything is fine, everything is green. So check mark, this is done. Next step would be to apply the necessary tuning. So let's see what we have. At the moment, I have nothing. There are a bunch of subnodes, but none of them is applied. And for this demo session, I have prepared a node, a demo node, which will obviously not in the release. This is this one. This is 9998887, and with this made-up node, I will show you some of the new features. So currently, there's version 1. Let's have a look how this node looks like. So therefore, we have the show command, and there it is. It's a very simple one, and besides of the version section, we have one block section here to set the IO scheduler to none, and here we see the new tagging feature. So this tag says only apply this section on a system where sys vendor is QEMU. So this tag points to a file below in the sys file system, below sys class DMI, and in this directory there are quite some files, and you can use all of those files as tags in Saptune sections. So, and here's also on our sys vendor, which is mentioned there. Let's check which value is in there, and it's QEMU. So if I apply this node, this should match, should be QEMU. It is QEMU. So Saptune should apply the node and set the IO scheduler to none. So to see this effect, I have on the bottom part of my screen here a little script running every 1 second, which shows us for all the disks, and I have 2 here in SDA and in VDA, the current used IO scheduler. And at the moment we have BFQ in both. So let's apply the node. So Saptune node apply, and here we can see that the IO schedule jumped from BFQ to none on both disks, like said in the node. So we use a verify just to be sure, and here we see we have the node, we have version 1, we have 2 disks, should be expected to be none, and they are actually none, so we are fully compliant. So let's assume for some reason that the SDA device or all SD devices in my system should not use none, but another schedule, let's say into deadline. Maybe I have a specific hardware built in my systems, and the default or the suggested schedule of none is not the best choice for that. So that means I need to create an override. I need to customize the node. So therefore, there's a command for, it's called Saptune node customize. And if there is no override file, if there exists no override file at the moment, so if I the first time want to customize the node, I get the default editor and I get a copy of the entire node. So since this is an override file, I should only keep those things in that file which I really want to change. So I will delete all the rest, the version tag, and still want to have this block section because here I want to do something. So my goal is to set the IO scheduler to, let's say, MQ deadline. But if I do this now, then all my devices would be set to deadline, but I only want to have this for the SDAs. So I use another tag in my override. There is one called block pattern, and here I can describe device names which should be affected. So in my case, I want everything with starting with SD, so we can use wildcards here to select the devices I want to affect. So looks good to me. I've said only on a QEMU system and only for devices which start with the device name start with SD. I want to have the enqueue deadline schedule. So let's save this. And this is an important hint here. The node where I have created an override is already applied. So for the changes to take effect, I have to revert and reapply the node. So let's do this. At the moment, both are none. I revert the node. It jumps back to BFQ, system's default. And now I apply it again. And here we see VDA is gone to none, and my exception for SD worked because SDA is gone to enqueue deadline. So call a verify again, there it is, and here we see the expected enqueue deadline because I have an override saying so. It is actual deadline, we are compliant, and for VDA should be none, no override, it is none, and everything is fine. So that's an example where you can use tagging to customize nodes. So the last feature I want to show is staging. So let's assume I have updated my package, my Saptune package, and with this package there is also a sub node change, so a new version. But staging is enabled, so the change or the new node is not going directly in the system, but first in the staging area where I have to release it. So staging is currently enabled, or should be. Let's check. Yes, staging is enabled. Then let's list the staging area to see what's in there. And there it is. I have a new version 2, currently Saptune uses version 1, in the staging area. And this one, yeah, I have to release first because before Saptune is going to use it. So Saptune tells me if I want to do so, do a Saptune staging release, and then it will be used. But before I do that, let's check out what's exactly the difference. What's different from the new version 2 to the new, version 1 I'm already using. So using the diff command, I don't have to use the node because it's the only one in the staging area. And here I see that there has been a new version introduced. A new parameter has been introduced. It's Ctrl Alt Delete, and it was not there before because we see version 1. There is a dash, meaning this is a parameter not existing in this version, but it is new to version 2 and it's set to 1. So that's the difference. That's the change in the node. And if I am okay with that, then would be the next step would be to release the node. So let's release it. And first I get a analysis and a few tips and hints. So the first one says there is an override file that might need adjustments. So that's the one we are playing around with the entire time. So I know there is no problem there because it's a new parameter which is introduced with a new version and it's not conflicting with anything I have in my override file. So that's okay for me. and the node is enabled and must be reapplied, because if I release something from the staging area, that means it just get copied into the working area. That means and does not mean that it's immediately applied. First, if Saptune touches this node again, maybe I'm reverting, I'm applying it, I'm restarting the service. So it's important to know. So there is, if I want to have the changes immediately on my system, they have to do another step, reapplying the node. But okay, I know that. And now I can decide finally if I want that or not. So I'm okay with this. Let's say yes, and then the node has been released. So as said, I have to reapply it. So let's first revert the node and then apply it. We can check here downstairs. We still have SDA deadline. We have VDA none. That should not change. And here I have kernel Ctrl Alt Delete currently set to 0, and we expect it to go to 1 after applying the node. So I'm reverting it, and now I'm applying it. And there we are. Everything is expected. MQ deadline for SDA, VDA, still none, and the new parameter has been set to 1. So, and therefore I'm at the end of my demo session. So I hope you enjoy Saptune 3 and you're looking forward for its release. Thank you.